Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Matt Lundgren. I'm an interventional radiologist at Stanford. A lot of people don't know what an interventional radiologist is or does, but we're kind of like a radiologist because we learn how to use all the different imaging modalities. But then we learn how to do surgery with those imaging modalities. So we kind of use MRI, CT, ultrasound, and X-ray to perform procedures. So when we talk about the coming AI apocalypse in radiology, we're a little less worried because unless the robotics can do it for us, we're feeling pretty good. But today I'm really
for now,
which we might get into, I hope, at some point, and then I will think about that more. So I really want to, obviously a lot of you know who we're talking with today, Vinod Khosla, who's an entrepreneur, investor, and according to his biography is a technology fan, which I love that. Because I think he's a lot more than that. In fact, I've watched some of his interviews, and you'll all find he knows a whole lot more than those scientists I work with. He's the founder of Khosla Ventures, and that has been founded on impactful technology investments for software, AI, robotics, 3D printing, and for today's topic, healthcare. And then, some of his background, many of you may know, but he's one of the founding CEOs of Microsystems. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, of course, today, but then all of you as well. So I have some questions that I've prepared, and some of which I've collected from you guys or from the class. But I would definitely encourage you to also speak up and ask questions as we go along. Raise your hand, I'll try to pick you out of the audience, and we'll have a great conversation. All right?
Great.
Started. All right.
It might be good to start with getting to understand the backgrounds of the people. How many are undergraduates versus graduates? Undergraduates? And the rest, I presume, are graduate degrees. How many people in engineering versus medicine? Engineering? Okay. Medicine? The sciences in general? Any in liberal arts? Okay. I like to make fun of people in liberal arts.
Don't put that out in English majors. So starting out, I think one of the first questions is, what brings you, with your background experience, the things that you do, what brings you to the healthcare world, and what is your interest there?
If you look at medicine, there's two large problems that I started looking at. First, scaling it globally is a very different problem than providing good medicine at Stanford. They're very, very different problems. The second problem, which frankly shocked me when I first started looking at it, was the quality of care we get today is nowhere near what it can be today. I think it was about 10 years ago, 2011, I was on a ski vacation. On second day, I tore my ACL skiing, which is a terrible thing to do on a 2-week ski vacation. And so I had to sit there and just stare out the window at the snow. And I got an MRI, and I took it to 3 different surgeons. And each one gave a dramatically different recommendation of the same MRI. So I spent some time looking, and it became clear the treatment you get depends on the surgeon you get, not the disease or condition you have, which is sort of pretty pathetic. So that's where, and I was looking at a parallel problem on how to scale healthcare in places like India. I grew up in India. Looking at how do you massively scale healthcare. And I was asking a simple question: to have the same patient-doctor ratio in India as you had in the US, which isn't great medicine. But even to get that, could you do it if you had hundreds of billions of dollars and 30 years to do it? And the answer is no. You couldn't start enough medical schools, you couldn't train enough professors to teach medical students. You just looked at the math and it just didn't work. Which was very fortunate, because that's when I decided that technology was going to be the only answer. And And at the same time, sometime around then, I also hurt my knee. And it became clear to me we didn't need different opinions on one's condition, like a torn ACL. And dramatically different, like don't do anything to do surgery right away to different types of surgeries. So that's sort of how I started looking at it. And that's when I sort of, it was that Christmas that I wrote my first blog called Do We Need Doctors? And by the way, the next week, because I was still laid up in bed, I wrote a blog called Do We Need Teachers? This was in TechCrunch in late 2011, early 2012. But it became clear that the medicine we practiced was the practice of medicine, not the science of medicine. That means people learned from under apprenticeship from previous physicians, and you repeated what they did. And the broader the population exposure you got, the better, the more you learned. But in general, it was transmission of experience, not RCTs. Let me ask a simple question. Relatively scientific discipline like cardiology. The American Cardiology Association defines 3 kinds of recommendations. Class A, Class B, and Class C recommendations, which is the level of seriousness of the recommendation. And for each class, they have Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 evidence. So the quality of the evidence. What percentage of the most important recommendations, there's about 3,000, 4,000 recommendations. Anybody guess what percentage of the Class 1 recommendations have, Class A recommendations have Class 1 evidence? Is it more than 50% or less? More than 50%, who would say? Good. You're wrong. I sort of by framing the question, how many would say less than 30% of the Class A recommendations, the most important kind, had Class 1 evidence? The number is 11%. So most of cardiology is based on experience, not on scientific data. And experience is practice. So I sort of decided I would spend a lot of my time on changing the practice of medicine into the science of medicine. And so that's how I got involved. And frankly, once you start studying the human body, it's much more of an engineering problem than a biology problem. And people in biology won't do things like solve cancer. Oncology is an information science problem. It's not a biology problem. Yeah, there's biological aspects, but they're not the determining aspects.
Yeah, we think about that a lot. And to your point, I mean, the way we were trained was in medicine. We're still trained the same way we were when this whole thing started. And that's when medical information doubled every 50 years. Yeah. So it made sense.
How many medical students here? Any? A few. Almost all medical students take the Hippocratic Oath. You can easily prove it's mathematically exactly the wrong thing to do, to take that oath. It's so fundamentally mistaken what medicine is about. If you can save 1,000 lives and hurt 100 people, you shouldn't do it according to the Hippocratic Oath. It's just bad social policy. So I can give you 100 examples like that, which got me all energized about getting engaged and sort of doing something about it.
If you think that your impact of the work that you're doing in places where you're investing, if you think, like, what was the initial, I mean, you were interested in healthcare and then you said, okay, I want to find something that will take us to the next stage. What was that first company, or what was that first idea that really got you to the point where you said, this is exactly where we're going to head?
Well, I don't know if there was one moment of realization. I think the first realization is medicine is extremely, extremely inconsistent from one physician to another. The level of inconsistency. I was reading, I do occasionally read weird stuff, the Diagnostic and Services Manual, which is DSM-5 is the most recent manual for psychiatry. Diagnostic and Services Manual for Psychiatry. For those of you who have any kind of math background,